Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here with a little bit of a deep dive on WCW. Honestly, I was checking on my buddy Jim Nye's channel today, and I noticed that he had made two videos in the past on WCW Uncensored 1995. One of them he said that it sucked balls, and one of them he said was the worst WCW pay-per-view of all time. I have a lot of memories of watching WCW Uncensored in 1995. I was in 8th grade. It was in 1995. I was not on the internet yet. I know that there was a Prodigy at my school. Me and my friend Pat would go on there, but I don't think I was looking at any wrestling things on there. I didn't know of like the Observer or any sort of like wrestling news sites at the time. I do know that there was this phone line that I would call. It was called the B line, and it would be advertised in our local newspaper. You would call the number, and then there would be like 4-digit codes that you could enter in on the B line, and there would be like different listings on there. So if you read through the listings, you could find something. It would be like sports scores, weather, this, that, or the other. But one day, there was a wrestling news line, and I was like, man, this is weird. And it honestly, it just sort of seemed like it was some normal guy giving tips about like the rumors that he had heard about wrestling. I don't think he was connected to the Observer. Maybe he was an Observer reader. Maybe he was just making the stuff up at the time. But I remember the rumor that the Ultimate Warrior was coming to WCW. Of course, we hadn't seen the Ultimate Warrior since he had been fired from the WWF. He was still a name that people remembered. He was a name from the past that people wanted to see. Eric Bischoff, I think, was running WCW at the time, and he knew that big names, big contracts brought in people. And you would be able to expose people to your wrestling company, and it would start growing. Main event, Hulk Hogan against Vader in a leather strap match. This match here is so wrong on so many places because of the fact that they have the leather strap match. They're inside of the ring. This match, of all matches, does not have a referee. A leather strap match, to me, honestly, should just be the two guys strapped together, a lot like a dog collar match, and just have a pinfall. That would make the match so much better. But the rules of a strap match, they've done it in WWE as well, is that you have to beat your opponent down, and then you have to walk around the ring and touch all 4 of the turnbuckles, and that's how you get your win. I guess the announcer is the one who says ring the bell, or maybe it's the timekeeper on the outside with the bell, that he just has to like keep score of what's going on. But during the match, as Ric Flair is in the ring with Vader helping him get the win, and then at another point we have a masked man make his way down to the ring. The masked man is kind of like on the outside, not really interfering, not really helping. And then at another point, we have a masked man in the same attire, but tied up with his hands above his head. His legs are tied. He's kind of just jumping out there to make sure that he's trying to show Vader and he's trying to show Vader and Ric Flair that he's Arn Anderson, and he's supposed to be the masked man according to the plan. And the guy that's out there wearing the mask is not him. It's not Arn Anderson. It's the Macho Man. So the Macho Man rips off his mask. He gets into the ring. At this point, it's 2-on-2. One of the big storylines from the match is that Jimmy Hart is not there because Jimmy Hart has been kidnapped. For some reason, I guess Jimmy Hart in the back is the guy that tells the Ultimate Surprise that it's time to come down to the ring while it's 2-on-2. This is the same 4 men that are going to be the main event of Slamboree. I don't really know why they need one more babyface to tip the scales towards having more good guys than bad guys out there. But we hear this music kick up, and you know, it's like the Ultimate Warrior's music, but it's not. But it's enough to tell you, like, the Ultimate Warrior's coming. And then this guy comes running out of the back. He's got the singlet, he's got the tassels, he's got the hair, and you're like, man, it's the Ultimate Warrior. You know, you're all hulking up out there. You know, like, oh, the Ultimate Maniacs was wasn't the Ultimate Maniacs Savage and Warrior? What was Hogan and Warrior? But I guess, I don't know if that was the Mega Maniacs. Was Hulk and Savage? I don't even know. Maybe if Hulk and Warrior had a name or not. But I think they did. I'm just not really sure what they did for SummerSlam 1991. But they get down there, and he clears house. But then once he like stops and he poses for the hard camera and he's doing the Ultimate Warrior, he's got a big R on his chest. You see him next to Hulk, and he's definitely shorter than the Ultimate Warrior is. That's where we're introduced to the Renegade. And the Renegade is a lot like, you know, NWO Sting. They just took a guy out of the back. And I know some bad things happened to the wrestler that was the Renegade. And I can't remember. He ended up taking his own life years later. His push in WCW. They tried it for a while, and they kept him around for a long time. A lot of people say the reason why he took his own life is because he didn't achieve the fame in wrestling that he did. That it just didn't work. It would have been the same thing if they, you know, tried to dress somebody up and say they were the Macho Man and not be the Macho Man. It would have been the same thing if they would have tried to have, you know, a fake Shawn Michaels, a showstopper, come out there or something like that. It just wasn't what they promised. Although they didn't come out and say the Ultimate Warrior is showing up. They did everything with the ultimate surprise and the wink. And, you know, WCW told us without telling us that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be there. And he wasn't there. I'll tell you the truth, I didn't pay the cable bill. My dad didn't pay the cable bill. We had the box. And we just paid a normal subscription to cable, enough to keep it on. And then something in the box, like a chip or something like that they put in there, you know, made everything show up. I will tell you the truth, my dad didn't tell me for years. One time I called the number on the TV because I was curious to see what would happen, and I actually ordered the show because all that happened is you pick up the phone, you press that 1-800 number in there. I thought it was going to be like the 900 number. I don't know if I thought Hulk Hogan was going to answer and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'd be like, "Hey, I want to watch Uncensored 1995." I don't know if it was this show or another show, but I hung up immediately when I found out that it wasn't like Eric Bischoff on the other end, and they still charged the bill. And my dad was too embarrassed to be mad at me because I was an idiot that called to order a pay-per-view when we had a box that played all of the pay-per-views for free. But one day he just told me, like, this is a bonehead thing that he did, and it didn't make any sense. But, you know, you're a kid, and I kind of understand why you did it. But I was upset. There was no Nitro. Following WCW at the time on the West Coast, honestly, was kind of hard. Everybody always talks about the fact that, you know, Saturday night, Sunday night, 6:05 TBS, they would have their shows. I remember it was WCW Saturday night, but what was the Sunday night? Was it Sunday Night Main Event? Something like that. They had an early morning show that came on Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, but TBS at the time, I don't know if I think they do, but they didn't then. Everything was live. It didn't matter, Braves game, wrestling, for the West Coast, they didn't like play it 3 hours later. If it was on at 6:05, it was on at 3:05. So as a kid, being an idiot, it was hard to remember what time shows were on because you had to factor in time zones. Ambulance. But, you know, if you're running around on a Saturday, 1995, I was probably playing Power Rangers in the street, or if we had a baseball game or something like that, to be able to come straight home and watch WCW. It wasn't like the time you turned on the TV to kind of like wind down for the day. But then again, we were probably playing outside, even if we were playing baseball on our own out in the park until dark, something like that. So it just was hard to watch WCW at the time. So I can't tell you that I didn't watch WCW after that. I definitely watched every pay-per-view. Somehow I knew that when those were on, and that was a big deal. But WCW 1995, the one thing that stays with you to say that it was a bad show was the ending with the Ultimate Surprise, the Renegade coming out there. But I think as a whole, the show really wasn't bad. And if they would have had Ric Flair wrestling instead of like managing and interfering in two different matches, it probably would have made the company a lot better. But then again, like I said, he ends up getting reinstated. He's on the next pay-per-view. They have a tag match. Renegade is on the outside, even though he's the Ultimate Surprise. It's Macho Man and Hogan going up against Flair and Vader. Renegade was probably supposed to be in that match, and then Savage was probably supposed to be like in a United States Championship match or something like that. But I think people turned on him so fast that they were like, we cannot stick this guy in a main event match. It's going to end up hurting it, even if we have these three Hall of Famers of WCW having this no-name renegade guy who is not the Ultimate Warrior out there is not going to help us. But that's my deep dive on WCW. This was fun. I really hope that we can do more of these. We'll do that.